Welcome to CVR English. This is Naresh Kumar. Let's watch the world news. Israeli airstrikes pounded northern and southern Gaza on Wednesday, killing at least 70 people, including almost 2 dozen children, according to local hospitals and health officials. A day after Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said there was no way he would halt Israel's offensive in the Palestinian territory before Hamas is defeated. At least 60 people, including 22 children, were killed in strikes around Jabalia in northern Gaza alone. According to hospitals and Gaza's health ministry, the strikes came after Hamas on Monday released an Israeli-American hostage, a gesture that some thought could lay the groundwork for a ceasefire. And as US President Donald Trump visited Saudi Arabia during a multi-day trip to Gulf countries. United States of America President Donald Trump arrives in Qatar, receives a grand welcome and greeting by country's ruling Emir, Sheikh Tamim Al Thani at the Lusail Palace on May 14. Qatar is Trump's second landing spot among his three-nation Middle East tour this week. US President Donald Trump urged Qatar on Wednesday to use its influence over Iran to persuade the country's leadership to reach an agreement with Washington to dial back its rapidly advancing nuclear program.
Which is the far friendlier course that you would see. I mean, we have two courses. There's only two courses. There aren't 3 or 4 or 5. There's 2. There's a friendly and a non-friendly. And the non-friendly is a violent course, and I don't want that. I'll say it up front. I don't want that. But they have to get moving. I hope the Iranian leaders understand that what you're doing, and really what you're doing for them, is a big favor. Your prime minister, your great leader, right here on my left, has been helping so much, and they respect them and they're listening to them, but they have to get moving, and we both understand that. They have to make that decision. It's their decision, because we want to see Iran do well, and thrive, and be successful, and everybody be happy. And I hope you can help me with the Iran situation, because it's a perilous situation, and we want to do the right thing. We want to do something that's going to save maybe millions of lives, because things like that get started and they get out of control. I've seen it over and over again. They go to war and things get out of control. And we're not going to let that happen. So I want to thank you and Prime Minister and everybody else for the help you've given us. And in turn, we'll do things for you that I think you'll be.
You have a vision for your country and a passion to make it great again. Please know that we have your back in this mission. And finally, peace. Our people, Americans and Qataris, want peace. I believe we have a God-given duty to bring about peace. I believe we are interconnected, that the death and destruction in Russia and Ukraine will flow to our shores, that the risk of nuclear engagement in Asia, in the Middle East, or the Americas will send shockwaves of devastation for generations to come. I truly believe that you are a president of peace, that you join me in wanting to serve the common good, to give all people justice, peace, and prosperity. Together, the U.S. and Qatar are right now. Even as we gather tonight, our teams are engaged in intensive diplomacy to secure a ceasefire in Gaza, to protect all civilians, especially innocent women and children, and ensure the release of all hostages. This conflict is the key to wider,
which is the far friendlier course that you would see. I mean, we have two courses. There's only two courses. There aren't 3 or 4 or 5. There's 2. There's a friendly and a non-friendly, and the non-friendly is a violent course, and I don't want that. I'll say it up front, I don't want that, but they have to get moving. I hope the Iranian leaders understand that what you're doing, and really what you're doing for them, is a big favor. Your prime minister, your great leader, right here on my left, has been helping so much, and they respect them and they're listening to them, but they have to get moving, and we both understand that. They have to make that decision. It's their decision, because we want to see Iran do well, and thrive, and be successful, and everybody be happy. And I hope you can help me.
US President Donald Trump met with Syria's interim president Ahmad al-Shara in Riyadh, a day after announcing he was lifting sanctions on the war-battered country. US President Donald Trump said on Wednesday that he will order the cessation of sanctions against Syria to give them a fresh start and move to normalized relations with its new government.
Beginning with my meeting with President Ahmed al-Shara and Secretary Rubio's meeting with the Syrian foreign minister in Turkey, after discussing the situation with Crown Prince Mohammed and President Erdogan of Turkey. I am also ordering the cessation of sanctions against Syria to give them a fresh start. It gives them a chance for greatness. The sanctions were really crippling, very powerful. I greatly appreciate the constructive role that the leaders in this room have played in trying to bring the terrible conflict to an end, including by helping secure the release of American hostage Idan Alexander. It was a big day yesterday, a very important day. I was told just before I left that they were going to be releasing Idan. We thought Idan was dead. 3 weeks ago, they said Idan was no longer living. And beginning with my meeting with President Ahmed al-Shara and Secretary Rubio's meeting with the Syrian foreign minister in Turkey, after discussing the situation with Crown Prince Mohammed and President Erdogan of Turkey.
Crowds of Syrians gathered at Umayyad Square in Damascus to celebrate following US President Donald Trump's announcement that he will ease sanctions on Syria and move to normalize relations with its new government to give the country a chance at peace. Syrians took to the streets and sites across the country to celebrate following US President Donald Trump's announcement that he will ease sanctions and move to normalize relations with the new government to give the country a chance at peace. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said on Wednesday that he is waiting to see who will come from Russia to the upcoming ceasefire talks in Turkey. Previously, US President Donald Trump on Wednesday said there is a possibility he will attend the Russia-Ukraine peace talks in Turkey on Tuesday. Trump told reporters on 8/4/1 on his way to Doha that he does not know if Russia President Vladimir Putin will show up to the talks.
Були ракети сьогодні, російська балістика. Коли увесь світ чекає від Путіна простої відповіді, так, на пропозицію прямих перемовин, він продовжує бити по Україні. Жодного військового сенсу в цьому немає, це зрозуміло. Нічого йому це не дає і не дасть. Сьогодні ми провели кілька нарад з командою щодо формату в Туреччині. Я очікую, хто прибуде від Росії, тоді буду визначати, які кроки варто робити Україні. Сигнали від них у медіа поки непереконливі. Але ми чуємо також, що президент Трамп розглядає можливість бути в Туреччині. Тож це може стати найбільш
What happens on Thursday if President Putin doesn't show up in Turkey for the talks with Ukraine? What will you do?
Well, I don't know if he's showing up. I know he would like me to be there. And that's a possibility. If we could end the war, I'd be thinking about that. Now, tomorrow, we're all booked out, you understand, and we're all set.
But you'd go if he goes?
Go UAE tomorrow. And so we have a very full situation. Now, that doesn't mean I wouldn't do it to save a lot of lives and come back. But, yeah, I think they're thinking about something. I don't know that he would be there if I'm not there. We're going to find out. Parker's going, and Parker's been very effective.
How are you feeling about how Putin is handling this? I know you had said a few weeks ago you thought maybe how Putin is handling this. You said a few weeks ago you thought maybe he was tapping you along.
I'll let you know.
були ракети сьогодні, російська балістика. Коли увесь світ чекає від Путіна простої відповіді, так, на пропозицію прямих перемовин.
On one side, US President Donald Trump has suggested he may personally attend the upcoming peace talks in Turkey between Russia and Ukraine, calling the meeting very important. Trump said if real progress is possible, he might fly in to help save 5,000 lives a week. Ukrainian President Zelensky welcomed the offer, calling it the right idea, and reiterated his willingness for direct talks with Putin. However, the Kremlin has not confirmed Putin's attendance, but Moscow says it remains committed to the negotiated ceasefire.
So I think you may have a good result out of the Thursday meeting in Turkey between Russia and Ukraine. And I believe the two leaders were going to be there. I was thinking about flying over. I don't know where I'm going to be on Thursday. I've got so many meetings. But I was thinking about actually flying over there. There's a possibility of it, I guess, if I think things can happen. But we got to get it done. We got to save 5,000 lives a week. 5,000 lives is really more than that's worth.
Говорив з президентом Туреччини Ердоганом. Предметна розмова. Я вдячний президенту за підтримку. Я підтвердив йому готовність до прямих і предметних перемовин з Путіним. Україна завжди підтримує дипломатію. Я готовий бути в Туреччині.
Aşamada Rusya, Ukrayna, Amerika ve Avrupa görüşmelerin yapılmasında mutabık. Tüm tarafların itimadını kazanmış yegane ülke olarak bu görüşmelere katkı vermeye hazır olduğumuzu ve ev sahipliği yapmaktan mutluluk duyacağımızı tekrar dile getiriyorum. Son temaslarla birlikte yeni bir fırsat penceresinin açıldığını görüyoruz. İnşallah bu sefer yakalanan fırsatın heba edilmeyeceğini.
So I think you may have a good result out of the Thursday meeting in Turkey between Russia and Ukraine. And I believe the two leaders were going to be there. I was thinking about flying over. I don't know where I'm going to be on Thursday. I've got so many meetings. But I was thinking about actually flying over there. There's a possibility of it, I guess, if I think things can happen. But we got to get it done. We got to save 5,000 lives a week. 5,000 lives is really more than that's worth.
Говорив з президентом.
Russian President Vladimir Putin shared a laugh with the Malaysian PM Anwar Ibrahim, asking him a cheeky riddle during a tour of the Kremlin Palace. I was telling the Prime Minister what St. Andrew's Hall is. There are 3 thrones there, and I asked Mr. Prime Minister, one throne is for the king, the second for his wife. Who is the third throne for? Mr. Prime Minister, almost without thinking, answered, for the second wife. Putin said. The Russian leader added that the high-ranking guest responded like a real Muslim.
Mr. Prime Minister of Malaysia Anwar Ibrahim said that he is interested in both the history and culture of Russia, and we appreciate that very much too. Just now, in St. Andrew's Hall, I was telling the Prime Minister what St. Andrew's Hall is. There are 3 thrones there.
Сейчас только вот в зале, в Андреевском зале, я рассказывал премьер-министру о том, что такое Андреевский зал.
And I asked Mr. Prime Minister, one throne is for the king, the second for his wife. Who is the third throne for?
Один для царя, второй для его жены, для царицы. А третий трон, как вы думаете, для кого? Господин премьер-министр.
Mr. Prime Minister, almost without thinking, answered, for the second wife. I hope Mr. Prime Minister will not be angry with me for telling such things. This is the answer of a real Muslim, a representative of Islamic culture. I must say that our traditional values may not coincide in some respects, but the exchange of information is always useful for both sides. Thank you very much.
I have to respond. I only have one wife, Mr. President. But I failed because the president actually tested me, and it's a trick. He asked me, he asked me, there are 3 chairs in the throat, you see. So which one on the right? I said, of course, the wife. On the left, I said, the second wife. You see, then I failed in the test. The second one on the left is the mother.
The second throne is for the mother. But the exchange of information is useful. Thank you.
Severe flash flooding struck Maryland on May 13, 2025, following torrential rains that overwhelmed waterways and infrastructure in western Port Allegheny County. Approximately 200 individuals, including 150 students and 50 adults, were rescued from Western Port Elementary School using 15 boats as flood waters breached the building's 2nd floor in Albemarle County, Virginia. 12 years old Jordan Sims was swept away by flood waters while walking near the creek. His body was recovered the next day. Officials have declared states of emergency across multiple countries, urging residents to remain cautious and avoid travel amid ongoing weather threats. At least 21 people died in an auto accident on Wednesday, May 14, on highway connecting Mexico's Oaxaca and Puebla states, a top states official said. In a post on social media, Puebla Interior Minister Samuel Aguilar said the accident involved 3 vehicles and that an unspecified number of other people were being treated for injuries. Mexican newspaper La Jornada reported that a fatal head-on collision occurred when a cement truck attempted to overtake another vehicle before crossing into the opposite lane and hitting a bus, then crashing head-on into a transport van. The truck crashed into a ravine and burst into flames after the collisions, according to the report. Hundreds of Peruvians marched to the Congress building in Lima, some appealing to the Pope Leo XIV, who holds Peruvian citizenships, to support their fight against the country's growing insecurity. The national strike brought protesters to the downtown Lima, where tensions rose as demonstrators clashed with riot police. Near the Congress, many carried signs calling on Pope Leo XIV, the first American Peruvian pontiff, to intervene. Originally from Chicago, Leo XIV spent most of his clerical life as a missionary in Peru, where he later became a naturalized citizen. He was elevated to cardinal in 2023. Government figures show that murders in Peru jumped by over a third in the past year, rising from 1,508 in 2023 to 2,059 in 2024. Much of the violence has been linked to the criminal groups that frequently target businesses, including transport companies.
Cada 5 años, cada vez que hay elecciones, llaman que hay terrorismo. Entonces el Papa ha vivido esa situación y no se puede dejar engañar con una situación de crisis que vivimos. Todos los días extorsión, todos los días sicariato, todos los días nos matan.
That's the wrap up of the volumes. Keep watching CVR English News.